Well, greetings and salutations, family, and welcome back for the second half of today's program. Before we get into today's upload, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, my merch displayed directly under this video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's second half of the program. Shall we? So, I'm just sitting here watching some Nostradamus effect, and I started thinking about, how things are going and why things are the way they are. And I don't know, because I'm just some 46-year-old guy in upstate New York that pretty much knows nothing. Just what I read and what I hear. But I was thinking about everything that, we really are curious about. And these theories that go along with this curiosity. And it's such a negative title. Conspiracy theory. Such a negative title. And a lot of subscribers agree, I agree with them as well, that you can't label these as theories, conspiracy theories anymore. They're because a lot of them have gotten proven correct. And there is still a lot of unanswered theories out there that we really, I'd like some answers. I know a lot of you do too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here listening. Today, my focus is going to be on Darpa, or the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And this agency has its fingers in everything. It almost need an extra set of hands to encompass all that it's into. And I was thinking about some of the stuff that they're into, and I'm like, wow, came up with a couple ideas, like the super soldier program and this and that. And I'm like, well, what if this Agenda 2030 is correct and they unleash these super soldiers on us? Or what if we are so blind and so not blind. What if we are just so misinformed and misled by the powers that be that we don't know the real deal? It's a few, but what if these creations and Darpa is doing what it's doing now because we possibly may be in line for a invasion from a different planet, universe, dimension, who knows? Dimension, that's scary. But what if that is true? We would need super soldiers for that. We would need these things that I'm going to share with you right now. So let me just share a couple of these with you, and you can kick the idea around in your brain yourselves and take a few ibuprofen after and, I don't know, think all night, I guess. But let's get into it, guys. So let's touch basis on the super soldier program real quick. And it's not just our country that is doing it. It is another major, powerful player. But, the 1% aren't just in our country. I mean, you'd have to be foolish to think that. The 1% is all over the world, different nationalities. Why do you think they want to create one universal form of money, currency? Well, the Chinese military scientists and strategists have consistently emphasized that biotechnology could become a new strategic commanding height of the future revolution in military affairs. The scholars wrote, quoting a 2015 article in a military newspaper. One prominent Chinese general, they noted, said in 2017 that modern biotechnology and its integration with information, nanotech, and the cognitive domains will have revolutionary influences upon weapons and equipment, the combat spaces, the forms of warfare, and military theories. Vorndick said in a phone interview that he is less concerned about the battlefield advantage such research might provide than he is about the consequences of tampering with human genes. When we start playing around with genetic organisms, there could be unforeseen consequences, he stated. Representatives of the Chinese government did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The overall message of Ratcliffe's opinion piece is that China is a dangerous adversary that threatens American economy and national security. The People's Republic of China poses the greatest threat to America today and the greatest threat to democracy and freedom worldwide since World War II. The intelligence is clear. Beijing intends to dominate the United States and the rest of the planet economically, military, and technologically. In an interview with Fox News, Ratcliffe urged President-elect Joe Biden to be honest about China. As NBC News has reported, Biden and his foreign policy advisors agree that China poses a major threat, but they say they believe that the Trump administration offered more bluster than substance in response. So, let's say all of this is true. And China, our adversary, or so we are told, because once again I believe it is the global elite, the 1%. So how do we... I think these little skirmishes that we are having are they're definitely real, because a lot of our men and women die. But I think they are created to really steer us off course. I believe something very big is going on. Now, let's just say it is, we really dislike China and we have a possibility of going to war with them. Well, what happens? What do we do? Do we sit by idly and watch them, create these technologically superior soldiers? No. This is what we do. Darpa continues human experiments to create military super soldiers. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, has a $2 billion yearly budget for research into creating a super soldier as well as developing a synthetic police force working with the human genome. DARPA hopes to manipulate certain gene expressions in experimentation. DARPA and the military-industrial pharmaceutical complex, are using natural abilities that are enhanced through genetic engineering. Some of the medical feats DARPA would like to enhance is the ability of the military soldiers to regrow limbs destroyed in battle. By eliminating empathy, the Department of Defense, or DoD, hopes to enhance a soldier's ability to kill without care or remorse, shows no fear, can fight a battle after battle without fatigue, and generally behave more like a machine than a man. Scientists are researching the construction of soldiers that feel no pain, terror, and do not suffer from fatigue, as tests on the wiring of the human brain are furthered by Jonathan Marino, professor of bioethics in Pennsylvania State University. Marino is working with the DoD in understanding neuroscience. The Pentagon allocated $400 million to this research. Further study could be passed onto the public in order to maximize profits as well as enhance the drug's effectiveness. According to Joel Guru, professor at Arizona University, Darpa is learning how to genetically modify human fat into pure energy by rewiring the metabolic switch, which would create soldiers to require less food by using gene therapy, and combining enhancements to alter the color of human eye is a blending of mutations that has no basis in the natural world. In 2011, the British Academy of Medical Science published a paper explaining the necessity for new rules to avoid ethical missteps, specifying the injection of human brain cells into animals that may give animals human memories or thought consciousness, as the goal should be dealt with differently than a non-modified animal. Human embryos can be strengthened or deteriorate the animal test subject, which prompted Senator Sam Brownback to push the Human Chimera Prohibition Act in 2005. Brownback expressed need for prevention of closed-door experiments that blur the lines between human and animal, male and female, parent and child, and one individual to another individual. The ethical aspect could be defined by two mandates of consideration. One, they could target the hypoethical scientists creating monsters in a petri dish. Two, they could take a close look at the science that's really happening in the labs around the world. In addition to genetically modifying the human genome, global elite are obsessed with merging man and machine, transhumanization, and immortality. Basing advancements on scientific research, the 2045 program will create a new vision of human development that meets global challenges humanity faces today. Realization of the possibility of a radical extension of human life by means of cybernetic technology, as well as the formation of a new culture associated with these technologies. Globalists at the 2045 program assert that humanity is in need of a new evolutionary strategy consisting of a balance between the complexity of technological advances and the acceleration of information process to expand the limited primitive human into a highly well-organized and technologically higher intelligence. The project for the New American Century, PNAC, published a document entitled Rebuilding America's Defenses in 2000, which frameworks a strategy for American hegemony in the near future, identifying problem areas of the world and advising regime changes of unfavorable governments so that in the end the nations of the world will be unified under the banner of American democracy. The revelation of former United States President George Bush's axis of evil defined American policy under the guidelines of PNAC, which identified Iran, Iraq, and North Korea, literally mentioning in the PNAC as governments that require a regime change. In the PNAC, the globalists have described the use of scientific enhancement and clinical trials, turning the United States Armed Forces into guinea pigs for the advancement of the super soldier. while Roger Pittman, professor of psychiatry at Harvard, is experimenting with propanol, which is a beta blocker that is believed to erase terrifying memories. Soldiers are subjected to more research while serving to alleviate the psychological effects of war. Marino explains, the problem is, what else are they blocking when they do this? Do we want a generation of veterans who will return with no guilt? Alan Snyder, professor of neuroscience in Australia, has been working to understand how transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS, can affect higher mental processing with the use of magnetic fields to promote unfettered reasoning. The United States Academy of Science reported in 2009 that they expected to be successful in using TMS against soldiers to enhance their fighting capabilities. Marino reveals that TMS helmets could be used in battlefields to expand a soldier's technical expertise and become a more proficient marksman and master electronics while in a training exercise. A few sentences in that article kind of caught me off guard and sent chills down my spine. Who gives us 80% of our news? Well, that would be Big Pharma, Big Bank, Big Oil, and the military-industrial complex. That sentence that sent cold chills down my spine was Darpa and the military-industrial pharmaceutical complex are using natural abilities that are enhanced through genetic engineering. Two of the big ones right there, guys. You think we're going to hear about it? Nope, only when they want us to. The next. Now, when I said earlier, I believe that the 1% are the global elite, which, I mean, it's what it is. So are these wars that are, ramped up by the news agencies? Is that a ploy? Is it something to, but is it something that they create to keep the human populace out of their business while killing and maiming hundreds of thousands of our young, innocent men and women? This sentence: global elite are obsessed with merging man and machine, transhumanization, and immortality. 2045 program will create a new vision of human development that meets global challenges humanity faces today. Realization of the possibility of a radical extension of the human life by means of cybernetic technology, as well as the formation of a new culture associated with these technologies. Now, the last sentence: a new culture associated with these technologies. They already have it. They have it. They have our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, us. They're programming the younger generation right now with all these Call of Duty games and all of this and that. We are AI right now. Not one of us, well, I'm not going to say not one of us, but a great majority of us have a cell phone in our pocket that we rely on daily to do everything from keep notes to watch TV to do this and that. It is insane. And the younger generation is brought up that way. We, as an older generation at 46, myself, had to learn this, which was kind of almost relearning a process that I grew up on. It was a phone that was in your living room or in your bedroom or your kitchen that you either pushed buttons or, for those of you that remember, had to rotary dial. And this new generation is so easily manipulated to be the first to call out something they don't understand when it's in the news as wrong and this and that. And I'm not insulting the younger generation at all. I mean, my 14-year-old daughter watches TikTok on a daily and does this and this and that and Snapchat, what have you. And she will come at me sometimes spouting this rhetoric and BS. And I'm like, bud, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me show you. And I'll teach her something that is mistaught. So she'll actually have a better perspective of what she is witnessing on these strange apps. The global elite. Does that mean these wars are created for a distraction and hundreds of thousands of men and women, our great men and women, are either killed or maimed seriously? For real? I mean, seriously. Come on. Thank you for, nothing. Big old government. The last sentence is this. Identifying problem areas of the world and advising regime change of unfavorable governments so that in the end the nations of the world will be unified under the banner of American democracy. Well, what? Why? Well, because even though it is a global elite, it all changes here in our great country. And that's absolutely terrifying. And it gets even scarier. The United States military is disclosing a super soldier project, revealing to have allocated funding of $65 million for a program to develop a brain-computer interface that will allow participants to plug into a computer like the movie Matrix. No, this isn't science fiction, Neo. This is the future that the MIC wants for its soldiers. For those of you who do not know what the MIC is, the military industrial complex. Earlier last year in January, Darpa launched neural engineering system designed to research technology that could turn soldiers into cyborgs. The military wants to use these programs to give soldiers super senses and boost brain power. 4 teams will be responsible for increasing vision and 2 on hearing and speech. The military adds that this will help develop new treatments for patients with sensory disorders. The program is being backed by Brown University, Columbia University, the Seeing and Hearing Foundation, the John B. Pierce Laboratory, and Paradromics Incorporated, and the University of California. These organizations have formed teams to develop the fundamental research and component technologies required to pursue the NESD vision of the high-resolution neural interface and integrate them to create and demonstrate working systems able to support potential future therapies for sensory restoration, officials say. Do you really honestly believe that? I don't. Do you really honestly believe that the United States government and all of these little creepy organizations and backed colleges with money from these organizations have a care in the world about anything? Our sensory disorders? Do you really think they care about Joe Public being blind or being deaf? No, they don't. They don't. Nor do they care about our soldiers, men and women who have fought and lost so much of their lives. So, I'm not buying it. The goal of the project is developing an implantable system able to provide precision communication between the brain and the digital world, Darpa officials say. Today's best brain-computer interface systems are like two supercomputers trying to talk with each other using an old 300 baud modem. Imagine what will become possible when we upgrade our tools to really open the channel between the human brain and modern electronics. Philip Alvetta, NESD manager of DARPA, stated. They allege that this new study into technology and the human mind will help treat people with blindness, paralysis, and speech disorders. Advancing neuroscience isn't the only experiment that DARPA has been up to. They've also been actively trying to merge man with machines, essentially transhumanization. The military-industrial complex has been trying for years to develop robotic exosuits and tech robots to increase the soldier's strength, as documented by the Raytheon Sarcos XOS-2 exosuit, which makes its wearer stronger, have an increased agility and endurance like a superhero. Around the same time as the release of the XOS-2 exosuit in 2015, the military also released a revision kinetic operation suit. The suit has a built-in night vision, computers, communication system, and a suspended metal exosystem that wraps 60% of the soldier's body in armor. It's so heavy that a motorized metal skeleton to carry and the weight is needed to move the soldier. It's also worth mentioning that the technocrats in Silicon Valley are interested in transhumanization, AI society. Tesla's Elon Musk and former Google executive Mary Lou Jepsen both are planning mind-reading technology and share the same interest of a privately owned military-industrial complex to transition the human race to becoming more like machines. And that, my friends, DARPA has already created. A Black Hawk helicopter flew for the first time without pilots. February has already been a big month for autonomous flight. For the first time this past Saturday, and then again on Monday, a specially equipped Black Hawk helicopter flew without a single human on board. The computer-piloted aircraft was being tested as part of a DARPA program called Alias, and the test took place out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The retrofitted Whirlybird was controlled by a Sikorsky-made autonomy system. As part of the system, the helicopter has a switch on board to allow the aviators to indicate whether 2 pilots, 1 pilot, or 0 pilots will be operating the helicopter. This was the first time that a Black Hawk was sent into the air with no pilot option, so that the computer system was handling all the controls, while these were just a test flight. They hint at the future in which the Army could potentially send autonomous helicopter on a dangerous rescue mission and have no one on board at all. In the general, this kind of autonomy technology has 3 main goals. The first is safety, to ideally help prevent an aircraft from doing something disastrous, like flying into terrain or a structure. The second, in-flight assistance. And the third, cost reduction, either in personnel training or even maintenance. Sorry, it took me a second. I had that jotted down. So, DARPA Alias program that this test was part of has been ongoing for 6 years. Alias is an acronym: Aircrew Labor in Cockpit Automation System. That's scary, guys. That's very scary. We already have drones that fly around throughout our skies. What's next? A war bird. An Apache helicopter. How terrifying is that? I mean, I myself love Apache helicopters. I love helicopters in general. I think they are the coolest aircraft out there. But having a AI that learns fly a helicopter, that's so scary. So scary. So, while DARPA is doing all this military stuff, then comes this interesting one. DARPA-founded researchers accidentally discover the world's first warp bubble. Warp drive pioneer and former NASA warp drive specialist Dr. Harold G. Sonny White reported the discovery of an actual real-world warp bubble. And according to White, this first of its kind breakthrough by his Limitless Space Institute LSI team sets a new starting point for those trying to manufacture a full-sized warp-capable spacecraft. In an interview, White added that our detailed numeric analysis of our custom Casimir cavities helped us identify the real and manufacturable nano microstructure that is proceeded to generate a negative vacuum energy density such that it would manifest a real nanoscale warp bubble, not an analog, but the real thing. In other words, a warp bubble structure will manifest under these specific conditions. White cautioned that this does not mean we are near building a fully functional warp drive, as much more science is needed to be done. This was in August 12th of 2021. You think we have one yet? I do. To be clear, our finding is not a warp bubble analog. It is real, albeit humble, a tiny warp bubble, White told. In 1994, Mexican mathematician Miguel Alcambray proposed the first mathematical valid solution to warp drive. More specifically, he outlined a spacecraft propulsion system previously only envisioned in space fiction that can traverse the cosmos above the speed of light without violating currently accepted laws of physics. The solution was lauded for its elegant mathematics, yet simultaneously debated for its use of theoretical materials and massive amounts of energy that appeared virtually impossible to engineer in any practical way. Over the decade later, this theory underwent a major shift when Dr. White, a then NASA-employed warp drive specialist and founder of the highly respected Eagle Works. Here's the deal, guys. I've got to stop this upload right now. My head is killing me to the point where I feel I'm nauseous. My brain is going 1,000 miles an hour, 1,000 different ways. And the most chilling part of this is that these DARPA projects are not even the most sinister ones. The satanic elite 1%ers are into some very bad stuff. Stuff that mankind shouldn't be tinkering with. Why are we tinkering with it? Over a super soldier suit? What do we need a super soldier suit for? What do we need these for? We've gotten along just fine without them throughout history. What's the real deal? What is the government really hiding from us? Who actually are they really hiding from us that we need all of these, I don't even know, programs? I gotta stop. I'm sorry. My head hurts, and I've been reading and researching these projects all day today, and I think that's the reason why my head hurts. So thank you for listening. Please be kind to each other, and may the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path we call life.